Item is the draft Christchurch Visitor Strategy, and I'm proposing that we deal with it. Item 14, the Greater Christchurch Urban Development Strategy Update and the Resilient Greater Christchurch Plan together, and have a broad-ranging debate over the three of them, because there is a connection between the three of them. I think the connection starts with something called the Christchurch story. So I'm going to propose that we play the Christchurch story as we begin, but in order to get the three items on the agenda, I'd like to move the three recommendations, and the Deputy Mayor would like to second them.
Can we dim the lights to get a bit of atmosphere?
We dim the lights.
Oh, you sweet talker.
Just change over there.
This place just grabs you and pulls you in, and she doesn't let you go.
Well, it'd be good if we could see it.
And dim the lights. Sounds good.
And dim the lights. Who's in charge of dimming the lights?
I'll do that when I can't be in two places.
The popcorn you have too, Chris.
Right. And I'll run really fast. And
This place just grabs you and pulls you in, and she doesn't let you go.
No mai haere mai ki o tautahi. Welcome to Christchurch.
The city that's got it all.
We all talk about the sea to the mountains. Right back to the settlers' days, there's that spirit, that get on with it, can do attitude, and it's still here today.
With pockets of the lovely old, but excitement of the new.
You know, our framework has changed a little bit. The earth has moved. We've changed, we've moved.
It's times like this you realise a city is more than just bricks and mortar. It is actually people.
There's something very special here. We're rebuilding a modern Western city.
You know, everyone wants to move forward. You can't do it in isolation.
There's this new overlay that's enhancing what Christchurch is all about, but we have not let go what was great about Christchurch. Everywhere's a garden. The landscape is a garden. We're a gardened environment.
Absolutely, we're a growing community. That's what we're all about.
growing our minds.
Growing our careers.
We're leading the world in seismic engineering research.
And Antarctic research.
We're ranked in the top 3% of the world's universities.
The education system is excellent in Christchurch, and I think we're almost spoilt for choice across the city.
There's definitely a really buzzing startup community in Christchurch.
It's open, collaborative, right in the heart of the city.
Martin is a global company that's based in Christchurch, and we have everything we need here to make this fly.
It is a city of opportunity, and there is a lot going on.
It's everything. You've got everything right at your doorstep. Everything's easy to get to, everything's easy to be part of.
It's home. It's just a great place that's got a great way of life.
For sporting, cultural activities, there's so much variety and choice.
You also have a really sophisticated nightlife. And increasingly a really creative city with an amazing art gallery.
I've never had such a sense of community anywhere else that I've been. Very welcoming place, very open.
I'm from Malaysia.
Philippines.
Italy.
South Korea.
France.
China.
Brazil.
You know, I get the real sense that my children just get a lot more freedom.
What I love about Christchurch is you're living in a city, but it doesn't feel like a city.
adventure is on your back doorstep with the mountains, the rivers, the surf. You can go surfing and skiing within 2 hours of each other.
It's 5 minutes to the playground.
10 minutes to work.
It's 15 minutes to the beach.
And 20 minutes for the rest of the world.
So you live the good life, but also see the rest of the world. Perfect.
The opportunity to be here, to have a family here, to have a business here, to become part of something that is growing, it's something that shouldn't be missed.
We finally did it.
Our very first time.
And what a place to have a place. Christchurch.
The best place in the world.
To be a Kiwi.
Almost brings a tear to your eye.
Thanks very much for the opportunity to do that. And in a way, the reason I wanted it played was to give some context for the debate on these three strategies, because the strands of them are actually all interwoven and connected through the Christchurch story. And it's about who Christchurch is and where we're located and what we can be. And Christchurch as a destination in its own right, but also the international gateway, not just to the Canterbury region, but to the South Island of New Zealand. And actually, I'm quite inspired by that piece, because where it came from is it started with Share an Idea. So they went back, the airport company obviously did this work as part of a bigger piece of work that they're doing over that whole strategic approach to what they call Kia ora South, welcome to the South. And if you think about where visitors want to connect when they think about coming to New Zealand for the first time, the images that are in their mind are all from the South Island. You know, they're the big images that attract people to New Zealand in the first place. And we're the international gateway to New Zealand. But it also talks about us being an international gateway to Antarctica as well, which actually gives us a really special place, not just in the in the national context, but actually in the global context as well. One of only 5 gateway cities in the world to Antarctica. So there's a whole lot about the visitor strategy that aligns with the urban development strategy, that aligns with the resilience plan. And that's why I wanted us to kind of debate them all together. And when you think about the way the Christchurch story is presented, and as I say, it started with Share an Idea. So they had access to the core feedback that people gave when they were invited to share their ideas about what they thought the city could become after the earthquakes. And I don't know if people remember going along to the different parts of Share an Idea, but I remember going into that arena and it was just buzzing with interest and activity and excitement about the idea, about thinking about what a new city in the 21st century would look like. And all of those ideas, the themes that came through that, are reflected in what we've just watched. And then the company that did this interviewed 50 people across the board to try and get a sense of where things had shifted to. And it was interesting, there was a view that there shouldn't be a reference to the earthquake and the experience that we'd been through. And the really strong reaction was that we had to acknowledge what we'd been through and that we'd come through the other end, and that there was a direction of travel for us as a city and a place for us, not just in our country, but in the world. And when you think about what's happening internationally, and even if you think about what's happening in Auckland, I was talking to a minister a while back who said that he was our best advocate in Auckland, because when people complained to him about the congestion on the roads and complained about the price of housing, he said, move to Christchurch. And actually, there will be people who will be thinking about moving to Christchurch, because that will be an opportunity that they won't get in other cities. they get everything here. We're a small city with a big set of possibilities, that sense of possibility that Vicky's been so good to highlight as well. I like the opportunity to grow, the connection with the garden city, it makes sense. The opportunity to connect, the international gateway status, but actually we're small enough that you don't get lost in the crowd, while we're big enough to have all of the attributes of a bigger city. So, and the opportunity to find balance, and I think people are looking for balance in this world. They're looking for a sense of security, a sense of a decent lifestyle, a good balance between work and other aspects of their life. A great place to bring up children and a great place to grow old. You know, it's that 80 principle that that Gil spoke about when he was here. And I think that if you look at the urban development strategy, that actually put Christchurch and Waimakariri and Selwyn and the region in the best possible position to face the disaster that we were confronted with, because the land use recovery plan would never have been able to be developed in the time frame that it was developed if we as 3 districts had not sat down together and agreed a future direction for land use for our 3 areas together. If we hadn't done that work, there is no way on earth that there would have been such an opportunity really to get the land use recovery plan in place. And I think if I'm going to be vaguely reflective of the approach that was taken, I probably would have used the urban development strategy as the recovery strategy, and I would have adapted it for the purpose of recovery, and then it would have had the easy transition to the next stage. So what we have before us today is simply a refresh. It's really an update. It isn't the review of the urban development strategy, which will have to happen next year. But I have to say that I was a little disappointed that we couldn't do it in the time frame that we had. But then again, the feedback that I got was that people were submissioned out. They were consulted out, and they didn't want to have a consultation on the urban development strategy now, and it is an opportunity for us, or for the new council going forward, to be involved with the other 2 councils and with the region and with the DHB and Ngāi Tahu and the Transport Authority to actually take that forward into the 21st century document that it's got to become. But this time it will be on the back of the resilience plan, and that to me, that's the one that I'm passionate about. The resilience plan actually sets Greater Christchurch up to be forward thinking, to be future focused, to think about the things that make our infrastructure resilient at the same time as we think about things that makes our community resilient. Communities don't become resilient if governments or councils do things for them. Communities become resilient when they work with local government and central government to make things happen for themselves. And that to me is the huge opportunity that lies ahead for our city, and I'm so excited about what these 3 plans bring together for us. But when we review the urban development strategy, we will now be able to do it through the lens of the Greater Christchurch Resilience Plan. And that, to me, sets out some really powerful objectives for taking our city forward. So I'm really excited about the 3 documents being here. I personally think that we've got to spend some time bringing them all together so that they all sit under the resilience framework. But, you know, at the moment, it's an update of the UDS tying in with the resilience plan and the visitor strategy, a supporting piece of work for the work that's going on in the background, where CCT and CDC will be coming together in a new organisational framework that will bring in some of our events as well. So future-focused organisational structure supported now by a visitor strategy. So I'm happy to move that, and I did want to kind of just make a wee note on the end of allowing technical amendments that's been added in there. So that was all. I was going to take Yanni next and then Glenn.
Oh, thank you. So we have a number of strategies before us today, and there's been a lot of work go into this. And it's actually really interesting, and the Mayor's reflected on it, that following on from the earthquake, we had an urban development strategy, and then we had a share an idea, which was really, unfortunately, I think, in hindsight, focused on the central city rather than the entire city, or actually the entire region. And more recently, perhaps you could say, in fact, we should actually look at a South Island strategy, because this is such a wonderful place to live, and there are many ways in which we should be cooperating and being strategic across the wider South Island rather than just in our region, in our city, or in our community. And I think the best example of that is the idea that with sporting events, for example, that every city has to build a bigger stadium to get the next All Blacks test bigger than the stadium that was built in the city before. So we're getting into a competitive bidding war to get professional sports coming to our city on top of the expensive infrastructure that we're spending. But you could look at it in terms of infrastructure as well. You could look at the ports expansion, for example, both happening in Otago and here, and you could actually say, why don't we work together cooperatively to promote what a fantastic place to live in New Zealand, but also in the world. And I think really we're so fortunate, despite all the terrible things that have happened, the tragedy that has taken place, this is still one of the best places in the world to live, and I think we're incredibly fortunate to be able to live here. I think what's really important is that these documents are actually dynamic documents as well. The blueprint was done nearly 5 years ago, so actually things change, things evolve. Circumstances are different now than they were then. There's been greater certainty or clarity around some of the financial models. Business cases may have changed depending on where population has moved to or come from. So I think the really critical thing is that we get these strategies in place, but we accept that they're actually dynamic strategies. And I totally endorse the idea of doing an overarching plan, and I was really disappointed that the Urban Development Strategy refresh didn't actually do that, because I thought it would be wonderful to do a share an idea too, and actually do it across the greater region, because the reality was, it wasn't just Christchurch people that came to share an idea one, it was people from all around the region, and many, even international people that came and made submissions and came and gave some great ideas to us. So, I think a city of opportunity, I think that's a really positive thing, but we also must be mindful of that this is a city that should be really proud to address the inequity that is existing both before the earthquake and post-earthquake. And one of the key things we heard through the last 6 years was that the communities who can least afford it are often the ones that suffer most after a natural disaster. So I think the idea that if this is a place that is great for everyone to live in, that is what will attract people to come here, to stay here, and to play here. And so we can't divorce this from the reality of fixing our broken streets, making the footpaths accessible for all, making the communities that have lost facilities feel like there's investment, there's opportunity in those areas that were hit hardest, and addressing some of the underlying issues which I know some of these strategies do around things like affordability of housing, giving everyone an opportunity to own their own house, for example, or to be able to afford to live in a safe, secure, warm and healthy environment. And so the two really critical things from my point of view going forward are that actually we do look at combining these strategies into an overall plan, but we also reflect in terms of the budget, because the interesting thing is if you go through these strategies, one of the gaps is the fact that the questions that we ask are not related to our budget. So it's very easy for someone to say, bring forward the stadium because it'll be great for events. It's a very different question. It's a very different answer if you ask the question, what's more important, fixing your broken roads and renewing it to an environmentally modern standard, or building a stadium? And so there are trade-offs that we have to make going forward, and I think it would be really good to have one clear process which all those different priorities can be weighed up, put into an overall plan that removes the duplication or the different directions that different people may want to go, so we get a common united vision for the city and for the region, and then we can really focus on getting those things done. And the final point is, I just think there really does need to be huge public input, and I think that's one of the most important things about the resilience strategy, is the focus on people participating and being involved in democratic decision making. And as a Cantabrian, as a person that lives in Christchurch, I don't think we should underscore the value of having local democracy in our cities and in our communities and in our regions. And I think that's one of the most important things from the resilience strategy, is that this is a place where everyone is given the opportunity to be involved in decisions and to participate in the decision making of their future. That's a future that belongs to all of us. So I'm happy to support these strategies.
Excellent, thank you. Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you, and I like your joined up approach and the breaking down of any potential silos. Just from a CHED perspective, we had a workshop on this after the last CHED meeting on the 7th of July, so I'm just putting forward one or two points from that in Andrew's absence. One media commentator has talked about the removing the reference to the stadium, but here's the thing, in my view, Canterbury is our stadium. And I think we need to look beyond the boxes to the natural assets, which are really Stadium Canterbury. The rivers and the mountains are the parts of that stadium. Yeah. In that footage that you saw before, that's what we saw. We saw our people out in our wider community. The stadium that is Canterbury is for all people, and we actually need, I think, in this post-quake time, for the sake of our community's recovery, to encourage people to get out there. Where else can you run, kayak and cycle from one side of the South Island to the other, or traverse down the middle in a mountain bike competition, or head to the hills over Tim and Phil's Way? Just getting back on the bigger picture there, one of the creative tensions we have in Christchurch at the moment is something I call an amplified hierarchy of needs, which Yanni touched on. On the one hand, we're dealing with roads, houses and insurance matters. On the other, we're trying to reach for the stars. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and in Christchurch I think it's amplified. And as a council, we traverse this hierarchy all the time, and we learn about it when we do things like put statues in rivers and that sort of thing. You know, we think we're making the best decision at the time we find out, actually. We need to join up all these strategies. We're going to be living with these tensions constantly. It's a challenging and a privileged place to be in, but it's our role as leaders, as governance in this city, to keep pushing forward and to keep progressing our roads, our insurance, our housing, and to look for the big picture, to assert our place as Christchurch and Canterbury in the South Island, in New Zealand. We all know now that safety globally is taking on a new meaning. What does that mean for Christchurch now in terms of a safe city? I support your approach today, Mayor, and I encourage you all to get behind it. Seeing someone like Michael Gorman in that video, I think that's tremendous. That adds real depth, because we can build all the fancy stuff we like, but actually if we don't care for our homeless, what kind of meaning and depth do we have to the recovery of the city? So this is tough stuff, but we need to hold all these tensions together, and I think this is a good way to do it, by holding all these strategies together. I support it.
Thank you. Phil?
Well, look, clearly there are three big documents, the three strategies, and discussing them together, I guess what stands out for me is that, and we've been involved with all of them all along, but it's the resilience strategy, I guess, as Leanne referred to, which for me underlines, I guess, the future direction and how we get there. And Glenn has referred to what Michael Gorman said, I think, in the film clip, about that the city is more than its bricks and mortar, it's its people. And clearly what underlines the strategy, the resilience strategy, is that fact. It's not, the infrastructure isn't only at all about the hard infrastructure, the steel and the concrete and all the stuff we do need and are working on. It's really that part of that is with working with the people so that they are engaged in getting those other parts done that Yanni referred to too. But so, in a way, I think the good thing about the film is it really shows the milestones that, in fact, we have achieved. And I think, in many ways, they're quite brilliant. And I think Yanni referred to all the documents needing to be dynamic. They do, and I think, though, here's the challenge for the council. The next stage, and especially around the UDS strategy, when that does go out, and I think another share an idea is a great idea to do, when it goes out, that in fact what flows down then is how in fact we need to make all these projects work. Because that's the challenge, I guess, not just for us in the remaining time we have here, but for the next council too.
Jimmy?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. I support this visitor strategy because this visitor strategy integrate, like Mayor, you mentioned earlier, integrate the resources to get a maximum benefit for the Christchurch through integration of the tourism, events, economic development, which also including the Antarctica and all those business sectors. And also, you particularly mentioned this is kind of international gateway, not only to South Island, probably to the whole of New Zealand, because the Christchurch at the moment international airport, actually, a lot of the direct flight to be here can transfer to Auckland, to some other city, and also it's Antarctica. So there's a very, very good opportunity to grow. But how do we to grasp this opportunity? That's very, very crucial for us. And also this is a strategy, high-level strategic document. Actually, we can see there's a setting up the vision, the goals, and the outcomes, Then we can gain and regain, especially after earthquake. Actually, the visitor drop a lot. But right now, they recover to the prior earthquake. How do we to regain in the market share? And for the preparing the detailed action plan, that's very, very crucial. Like we watch this video earlier, to share the Christchurch, we can see all those people. Actually, it's a miniature of the people of Christchurch. We're full of the exploration, full of the hope for the city of Christchurch. But when I reviewed paragraph 6.5, particular here mentioned this option is consistent with the council, the plan, and the policies. Except the Mayor, you mentioned earlier, aligned with the resilient, the Christchurch plan, and also the Christchurch, the UDS, the strategy. But also one of the key current existing the international the relation, the policy, this policy actually also align with the new visitor strategy, because it has been a focus on the international education, economic opportunity, tourism, as well as high-value investment, etc. So how this the strategy or policy can align together, to integrate together, to complement it together. That's we need to to attack the follow way for the future the implementation. And also my understanding, except the future, the new entity, CCT and the CDC, but currently the Council Civic International, the kind of relation, the department, they already also focus on the international education, the good, strong, the sister cities, the culture, the economic connection. How do we to also have a proper coordination? Then we need to think about it. But regarding the government, the role, currently the council under the chair committee, we did have an international relations working group, also focus on this kind of stronger connection with our sister city, social, cultural, economic, the connection. But how do we to integrate it together? This also we need to more think about it. But generally speaking, based on I mentioned earlier, I support this strategy, this high-level strategic document for the future implementation for the efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
That's good. Tim, then Vicky.
Thank you. Look, I totally agree with everyone pulling these together, and it seems logical to put it under the resilience strategy, so it's all joined up. But I really just want to talk with regards to the visitor strategy. And I think that, as we saw in that video, what we have here in Christchurch and Canterbury and the South Island is we are unique Kiwis, and we should be concentrating on what we have for that visitor strategy. The previous council some time ago brought Ellerslie, and you wonder why they did that when we have so much in Christchurch that we can offer that is truly unique, which no one else can. As mentioned earlier on, you know, like everyone vying for bigger stadiums, etc. It's about doing things better and what is truly unique. So people want to come here, they want to live and play here. And I keep hearing the word stadium. You know, we talk about a lot of things about disruptive technology. Look what electric vehicles they've done in the last 10 years. It is moving so fast. So when the discussion with regards to when we build or what we build, etc., is in the future. But I just want to say that it amazes me that we still talk about a stadium. If we ever built a stadium, we'd be 20 years behind everyone else. We've got amazing opportunities, and I want to look at the future that at some stage, and when we deem it appropriate, that it is a multi-purpose arena that we look at. So I just wanted to say that the visitor strategy I totally endorse. I think we've got an amazing future, and as we move forward, we talked about, and we have talked about opportunities, but I see as we move forward now, those opportunities are becoming clearer and more graspable. So thank you.
Are you going to speak as well? Because do you want to save up to the end?
Okay.
Yep, David.
Look, I'd just like to elaborate a little on Tim's comment, and Glenn talked about Stadium Canterbury. I'm probably a little disappointed that in some respects we are pushing our, and I'll use the term multi-use event centre out further. Look, we are...
Doesn't do that.
I know, but I'm just saying, here we are. We're enhancing the visitor experience. We're talking about cruise ship opportunities, hotel development, increasing visitor numbers, and the experience of people when they come to Christchurch. The multi-use event centre is an integral part of that, and I certainly endorse everything that everybody's saying on the city, but I really would like to see us embracing that philosophy a little quicker than we are perhaps planning at this stage, because it is an integral part of our visitor experience to Christchurch, and if, we need to get away from this notion that we're building a stadium that it's for rugby. It's not. Never will be, and as Tim has quite rightly said a moment ago, if we built something like that, we're going back 20 or 30 years. We need to be looking into the future. We need to be looking at something that's quite unique and will enhance our visitor strategy and enhance the visitor experience to Christchurch.
Yes, and a future council will make that decision. Paul.
I'm going to be really brief, and I'm a fairly pragmatic sort of person. I look at things through a really simple lens. There's three things I've learnt since the earthquake and doing the restart project. Everything comes back to people, people, people. Without the people, you've got nothing. And if you look at that video, it showed people and it showed our natural environment. It didn't show the buildings. It showed what people do here. And I think that's a really key part of actually this environment we have here in Christchurch. We have a great environment that you can do some really neat things in. So we need to always bear that in mind, that our natural environment is probably the most important alongside our people. And if we get all those things right, everything else will fall into place. We are building back, and there has been a thing towards the central city where, you know, we'll put some emphasis on rebuilding our city. We've got to remember though, we lost 80% of our central city, so we've got to build it back. It's a really important heart of our community. So getting that right is also really, really important, because that's where people come, and that's what reflects us as people. That reflects us in what our culture is, how we feel about each other, and looking after our lowest common denominator, making sure those people that are most vulnerable in our city are looked after, because that's how we get judged. If we've got homeless people lying around the streets, people will see that and actually will judge us on that. So we've got to look after all aspects, and if you raise the bar for those least fortunate, you actually raise the bar for everyone. So it's keeping that balance right, and as I said, people.
Very good. Vicky.
I totally agree with Paul, actually. It is people, completely. But I think if we look at what we've got in Christchurch, we sit as the gateway to the South Island as well, which is such an asset, such a place that, could you invent a place that was better? So amazing city, I think, with incredible opportunity. And I love the fact that they've used the word opportunity. They almost got to anything is possible. They'll get there in the rerun. And in part of their work, they've talked about the test bed for disruptive technology and how we attract more people who want to do incredible and amazing things. But I think one of the things that we need to think about as well is that while we know the Christchurch story incredibly well, I don't think some of the rest of New Zealand knows it or hears it. And if we look at what's happening in New Zealand, just in the Auckland housing crisis, and it is a crisis, and I don't know what the word is beyond crisis, but it's actually beyond that. Because what we're seeing is that Auckland has gone from the 9th most unaffordable city in the least affordable city in the world to the 5th within a year. And it is now 10 times your average income to get into a house. As the Reserve Bank increases what you have to put by way of deposit, you're going to need a $400,000 deposit to get into a house in Auckland. I don't know how anybody does that. And I don't think people know, even in Auckland, that there are so many opportunities here for them in Christchurch. So while the situation in Auckland actually gets worse by the day, because every day they build fewer houses than there are people who need them. So for the next 4 years, the price curve in Auckland goes on a hockey stick exponential growth curve, which is terrifying. And what's terrifying from my point of view is that as a New Zealander, I believe very strongly in the non-hierarchical structure. So while you may get huge respect in China and Japan as a mayor, you'll get none here. And I love that.
I know that.
I love the fact that we don't have a huge sort of pandering to authority, that we are non-hierarchical, and that we have that sense of possibility and equality. And so important that we ensure that everybody is included in our city. So the sense of social inclusion and what that means is absolutely vital. And what's happening and is going to accelerate even faster, because the situation just gets worse by the day, is that sense of possibility and equality in Auckland is disappearing. So what we are seeing is a sense of major relative deprivation. And what drives major social movements always is the sense of relative deprivation. And that in Auckland is happening with alarming speed. So what drove Brexit, what's driving Trump, what got Pauline Hanson elected, all of those really scary social movements is actually in embryonic form in Auckland right now. And that's scary. And the government actually can't solve it in the next 4 years. So the only way that it will be solved is by the huge numbers of people coming into Auckland, realising that there are other cities, as yet unaffected by the contagion of the Auckland house prices. So the price of housing in Christchurch is going up 4% annually, and rents are actually falling off slightly, which is excellent. So I think one of the things that we know as New Zealanders is that governments don't always solve problems. We solve them ourselves. And I think one of the messages we need to get out really clearly to all those people who want to go to Auckland, or to those New Zealanders returning home, is that there is this amazing city in the South Island of New Zealand that has these opportunities and this amazing potential, and where they can actually afford to be part, to not only own their own home, but to be part of an incredible city that just has possibility written all over it. And I think perhaps we're not telling, I think the message is told incredibly well in 4 minutes, probably way better than we can tell it in the strategy because it's so visual. But that's where I think we need to also focus. Yeah.
So no, I think we need to take the story out to the rest of New Zealand, and that's a piece of work that the new council can pick up on. So I'll put the first motion, which is up on the screen, and that's for item number 7. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Item 14. I'll put. It just ratifies that. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And item 15. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.
I think we really do need to recognise the massive amount of work in all these. They appear in our agendas like this, but they've had several iterations, millions of workshops, thousands of hours, and the patience and the magnitude of the job cannot be understated.
Representatives of CCT here in the room, so I acknowledge them as well, the staff from Strategy and Transformation, but also Mike Galuli, fantastic job on the resilience plan. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. We'll adjourn for morning tea and we'll come back at 11 o'clock.